This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV. We're at day 2 of Cloud Expo in Santa Clara, and we're joined now by Stan Klimoff with Qubell. Qubell's CEO, Victoria Lifshitz, spoke this morning, gave the keynote actually, and she was talking about DevOps and sort of this emerging DevOps culture and the pain points that their customers face. And the metaphor or analogy that she used was the bureaucrats of ops and the cowboys of dev, and how to get them to be on the same page. I think Stan faces that issue in his job as well. So welcome, and let's talk a little bit about cowboys and bureaucrats and how you get them to become friends.
Right. It's a fascinating topic, actually, and you're completely right that I'm facing the same thing in my own company, where I do have a development department. I do have an ops group who are not really traditional ops, but more of a DevOps thing, and we see this dynamic playing over and over and over again. We have developers who are really passionate about getting their code out to the customers and do it no matter what in the shortest possible time, just to get their stuff used by someone. This is the biggest motivator for developers, and that's why they do what they do. Now, for operations, it's a bit different. They're also motivated by having their stuff used by someone, but at the same time, they are very focused on procedures and policies. And there's a good reason for that. For instance, for some companies who have compliance requirements, and we are now one of them because we have to provide the level of security our customers expect from us, these policies and procedures are a necessity. And there is a real logic behind all of them, even though not even in operations everyone understands that logic. Now, the trick is, as I found out, for the developers to be successful in this environment, you need to show them that there's logic behind it, that there is a puzzle that they can crack, and then they make sure that whatever they're doing is compliant with the policies. In this case, you can give them a greater degree of autonomy and self-service.
I like the idea you face the struggle within your own company. Years ago, actually, I heard Andy Grove, when he was CEO of Intel, talk, and I gave a speech, and he didn't talk about Intel's product. He talked about their own challenges internally with their IT infrastructure. He said, we're a big user of IT. So in a way, you're sort of baking your own cake. Is it really a cultural difference, or is it more just a battle of control? And how do you arbitrate that? How do you get people really to agree that they're really on the same team?
All right. There's no easy answer for that. Yeah. In some cases, it's cultural. One of the problems that we are seeing in many of our customers is that companies are growing way too fast to be able to absorb the necessary change of culture, especially if it's going through acquisitions. For instance, you might have an established company, a SaaS provider maybe, who is acquiring another development team somewhere in a low-cost location. It's really tricky to get the culture up to speed in all the places where your company is located when you are growing 2 times every year. And again, cultural things are the most tricky. The good thing is that not all of these problems are cultural. Sometimes they're just misunderstanding because of the way organizational lines are drawn out. And one of the big things that we see happening with DevOps is that people are starting to organize their DevOps groups around common goal, and this kind of removes the conflict of interest that's inherent in the dynamics between dev and ops. Because ops usually are compensated by really site stability. If site is not up, they're losing their bonuses. One of the industries where we see DevOps being extremely successful is actually financial industries, because they are both development and operations, especially in smaller groups, are both compensated by the time software stays up and runs the algorithms. Now, in most companies that are not financial, it's not the case. And if you can figure out what the organizational blueprint is for all of your groups to have common incentives, financial industry being the most extreme case probably, then you can really say that your groups are aligned and they want to have the same thing, and you can trust them with doing DevOps.
Yeah, financial services always moves fastest, and everything, because they live in such real time and 24/7, and the challenges that they have. You mentioned acquisitions, and I think that is a good point. A company can have this perfectly executed, developed, and deployed plan, and then suddenly one day they wake up and they find out that they've been acquired, or they acquire somebody. Within that, a lot of times there's a lot of different legacy technologies. And as I understand it, Qubell is very comfortable. It has fairly deep roots. It's a relatively new company, but it has fairly deep roots in a lot of technologies that are popular. And then could you list some of those and some of the challenges that you see?
Absolutely. And Qubell, actually, as a company, as a product company, it was created out of a smaller division that I led in a company called Grid Dynamics, which is a services company. And our mission in life was to help all the big guys, and some of our customers were eBay and PayPal and Cisco, to actually embrace the cloud and change the ways they're doing development and deployment so that they're not on 2 times a year releases, but instead doing weekly and day releases and whatnot. Now, when we're talking about legacy, and of course, in all the companies that didn't grow organically, but instead were kind of assembled together through acquisitions, there's a lot of legacy, always. It's kind of interesting because here in Silicon Valley it's kind of an echo chamber, and people are saying, okay, yeah, sure, legacy is important, but there are all these new shiny things on Docker and whatnot.
Real world.
And they always forget that even their iPhones are powered by some legacy software somewhere on someone's premises, and you still have to manage that. It's probably 90% of what's there. So in Qubell, I believe we cannot be an exclusive club. We cannot only rely on greenfield technologies. What we can and what we should do is to wall off the legacy infrastructure and make sure that there is a clear interface to it. You know what to expect. You know the SLAs, you know the interfaces, you know who's managing it, and then integrate it into the end-to-end workflow. And we saw it work well with the companies which have very disparate divisions, which have very different culture. If they can agree on this common interface and tie their business metrics to the performance of this interface, we see it working.
Here in the bubble, here in the echo chamber, you get out of it sometimes with real-world customers and see they do face these issues. And yeah, even with the latest and greatest, there's more legacy embedded in there than you may think. We've been sitting here for a few minutes with Stan Klimoff from Qubell. Very exciting company, doing a lot of great things in the world of DevOps, but there's a lot more to it than just DevOps, so check them out. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. For Syscon TV, this is Roger Struckhoff.